Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. So today we're unpacking something that, honestly, I know every single one of us struggles with. Okay, picture this, and tell me if this is painfully relatable. You sit down at your desk, you're totally motivated, you've got your highlighters, your notebook, you flip open the book, and you are just ready to conquer this material. But maybe 2 minutes go by, and suddenly this little thought pops into your head. You know what? I should probably just check that one group chat notification, just really quickly. Boom. Just like that, the trap is sprung. You unlock your phone. You watch, just one Instagram reel, then another one, and another. And then you look up at the clock and you realize you've literally just lost 45 minutes to one single notification. You haven't read a single page, and what happens next? The guilt sets in. You start blaming yourself. You tell yourself, man, I just have no discipline, or worse, I'm just naturally lazy. But what if I told you that the whole narrative you've been feeding yourself is actually completely wrong? The problem isn't that you're lazy. Seriously, I want to just lift that guilt off your shoulders right now. The truth is, your brain is actively being hijacked. As students today, you're fighting a battle that literally no previous generation has ever had to face. You're up against the attention economy, which is this massive system explicitly designed by some of the smartest people on the planet to keep your eyeballs glued to a screen. Your brain is being trained day in and day out to lose focus. Okay, so let's dive into this. Part 1. The myth of laziness. We really need to rethink this whole idea of willpower. Let's imagine two totally different scenarios. Student A is studying in a perfectly quiet room, right? No phone in sight. Now, student B is trying to study, but their phone is just constantly lighting up with Instagram, WhatsApp, YouTube, gaming notifications, just dinging every few minutes. Who has the harder task here? I mean, obviously it's student B. Yet, when student B inevitably loses focus, they blame themselves. But the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that your environment shapes your focus way more than your willpower ever could. You are not competing against your own laziness. You're competing against billion-dollar tech companies that literally hire neuroscientists to make their apps impossible to ignore. Every single swipe, every like, it's all engineered to hijack your attention. Which brings us to part 2, the dopamine trap. Let's look at the actual neurochemistry of focus. So we hear the word dopamine thrown around all the time, right? People usually call it the happy chemical. But actually, scratch that. It's not quite true. Dopamine is really the chemical of anticipation. It's that little neurochemical spark that makes your brain say, ooh, maybe the next swipe will be even better. It's the drive of wanting, of seeking. Your brain absolutely loves surprises, and dopamine is the exact thing keeping you hunting for that next shiny new piece of information. And just look at the stark contrast we're dealing with here. Social media acts exactly like a slot machine in Vegas. Sometimes a video is totally boring, sure, but sometimes it's hilarious or shocking. You get this little surprise every 10 seconds, and that unpredictability keeps your brain completely hooked on the endless novelty. Now, compare that to studying, right? A textbook does not give you a bright, flashing reward every 10 seconds. Often you're sitting there slowly reading 5 dense pages just to wrap your head around one single concept. To a brain that is literally craving dopamine, that feels agonizingly slow. So naturally, it starts itching for a faster, instant reward. You aren't weak, you guys. Your brain has just gotten completely accustomed to instant gratification. All right, moving on to part 3, hidden focus killers. Let's talk about what's actually destroying our ability to do deep work. Think back to when you were a kid. Popping in a 2-hour movie and watching the whole thing without looking away once felt totally normal, right? But now, so many of us literally struggle to watch a 5-minute educational video without reaching for our phones. And look, this is not a drop in intelligence. It's that our attention has become entirely fragmented. A massive culprit behind this is something called attention residue. Here's how it works. Every time a notification interrupts your flow, it forces your brain to restart. So even after you put the phone face down, part of your brain is still processing that funny video or that text you just saw. You might physically be sitting at your desk looking at a book, but mentally, you are still scrolling. And this is exactly why studying for an hour with constant interruptions actually teaches you less than 20 minutes of pure, unbroken focus. We really need to bust the myth of multitasking. Your brain does not truly multitask, it rapid switches. If you bounce from studying for a minute to sending a message, back to studying, and then jumping over to Instagram, every single one of those context switches burns cognitive energy. You are literally exhausting your mental reserves just by shifting gears. It's kind of like this. Imagine you're driving a car on the highway, and you decide to aggressively change lanes every 5 seconds. Are you still moving forward? I mean, yes, technically, but you're moving much slower, you're burning way more fuel,
and you're in a highly stressful, totally inefficient state. Well, the exact same thing is happening inside your brain when you constantly switch tasks. Every unnecessary switch severely reduces your learning capacity, which perfectly explains why a 6-hour study session can sometimes result in practically zero retention. But distractions aren't just about entertainment. They also carry this heavy emotional toll that just completely kills your focus. Think about it. If you open social media during exam season, what are you actually seeing? Someone's posting about how they studied for 12 hours straight. Someone else is bragging that they already finished the entire syllabus. Or you see someone sharing photos of their flawlessly color-coded notes that look like they belong in a modern art museum. And suddenly, you feel incredibly behind. But we really have to remember, people only post their highlight reels, not their messy behind-the-scenes struggles. Nobody uploads a selfie saying, "Hey guys, today I wasted 4 hours scrolling and then cried." But when you compare your real, chaotic life to their curated perfection, it does serious damage. And that sets off this awful, vicious cycle. Step 1, you compare yourself to those perfectly curated highlight reels. Step 2, that comparison triggers immediate anxiety and feelings of inadequacy. Step 3, since anxiety creates a massive cognitive load on your brain, you lose your ability to focus on your own work. And finally, step 4, that lack of focus leads to poor results, which of course just makes you feel even worse, and the cycle starts all over again. The comparison game is literally stealing your confidence and your concentration. Okay, part 4, retrain your brain. Let's talk about how to actually reclaim your focus. So here is the absolutely incredible, empowering news. Because of neuroplasticity, your brain is completely adaptable. We're going to look at 3 highly practical, science-backed habits that actually work to help you take back your brain from the attention economy. Let's break these down so you can start using them right now. Habit number 1, keep your phone physically out of reach whenever you need to focus. And I don't mean putting it right next to your notebook. I don't mean putting it face down on the desk. No, if possible, it needs to be in an entirely different room. Research actually shows that merely seeing your phone in your peripheral vision, just knowing it's there, is enough to significantly reduce your cognitive capacity. Why? Because your brain is actively burning energy just trying to resist the urge to check it. Habit number 2 is all about the numbers 25 to 40. You need to start studying in uninterrupted blocks of 25 to 40 minutes. That means no quick checks, no quick replies. Set a timer and just fully commit to that block. Once it goes off, then take a short, deliberate break. By forcing yourself through that initial discomfort of not checking your phone, your brain slowly learns that sustained focus is normal again. You are literally rebuilding your mental endurance muscles, step by step. And then we have habit number 3. You have to actively reduce your consumption of short-form content. Look, you don't have to quit social media forever, but if your day starts and ends with endless, rapid-fire scrolling, your brain expects a spike of entertainment every few seconds all day long. So try replacing just 20 minutes of scrolling with reading a physical book, or maybe going for a walk without your phone, or honestly, simply sitting quietly. Let me warn you though, at first it is going to feel incredibly boring. But that boredom, that's the medicine. That is the exact key to growing your attention span back. I really want to leave you with this incredibly empowering thought. The same brain that learned distraction can also learn focus. Your brain is highly adaptable. It molded itself to the rapid, crazy pace of the digital world, and it can absolutely mold itself right back to a state of deep, meaningful concentration. The very moment you begin protecting your attention and setting some boundaries, you are already changing your neural pathways. And by extension, you're changing your future. So as we wrap up this explainer, if you've been struggling to concentrate lately, I want you to immediately stop calling yourself lazy. Seriously, drop the guilt. Instead, I want you to look critically at your daily habits and ask yourself this one profound question. What has my brain been trained to expect? Because remember, your future won't be decided by how many hours you spend merely sitting in front of a book. It's going to be decided by how many of those hours your mind is truly, deeply present. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. And I challenge you, start retraining your focus today.